The restaurant went silent in a way that made everyone uncomfortable. Plates stopped clinking. Conversations faded into whispers. All eyes slowly turned toward the man sitting near the window, the one in worn-out jeans, holding his young daughter's hand. He didn't look like he belonged there. And yet, when he calmly pointed outside and said, "That's my helicopter," everything changed. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional stories that remind us all of the power of kindness. It was a chilly Friday evening in downtown Chicago. The kind of evening where people dressed their best and filled expensive restaurants, celebrating deals, anniversaries, or simply the end of a long week. Inside one of the most upscale restaurants in the city, soft music played while waiters moved gracefully between tables. The place smelled of rich food and quiet luxury. That's when the door opened. A man stepped in, holding the hand of a little girl, maybe 7 years old. She wore a simple pink jacket, her hair tied into a loose ponytail. The man looked tired. His boots were dusty, his shirt slightly wrinkled, and his jacket clearly worn from years of use. He paused at the entrance, glancing around. The hostess looked up, her smile polite but hesitant. She wasn't used to guests who looked like him. "Do you have a reservation?" she asked gently. The man shook his head. "No, ma'am. But my daughter, she's never eaten in a place like this. I promised her tonight would be special." The little girl looked up at him with wide, hopeful eyes. The hostess hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "All right. I can seat you, but just for a short while. We're very busy." "Thank you," he said, his voice soft but sincere. They were seated at a small table near the window. Almost immediately, people began to notice. At a nearby table sat a well-dressed couple, the man in a tailored suit, the woman elegant and poised. She glanced over, her expression tightening slightly. "Do they even belong here?" she whispered. Her husband shrugged. "Let's just enjoy our dinner." But she couldn't stop watching. Meanwhile, the little girl beamed with excitement. She looked at the menu like it was a treasure map. "Dad, can I really order anything?" she asked. He smiled, though there was a hint of worry behind his eyes. "Anything you want, sweetheart." She pointed at something she couldn't even pronounce. He nodded, even though he had no idea what it cost. As the waiter came over, the man spoke carefully. "We'll have that, and maybe just water for me." The waiter nodded, though his expression carried a subtle judgment. Minutes passed. The girl giggled as she watched the city lights outside. The man sat quietly, occasionally glancing at the prices on the menu, doing silent math in his head. At the other table, the elegant woman leaned closer to her husband. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. "This place has standards." Her husband sighed. "Let it go." But she couldn't. Finally, she stood up and walked toward the manager. "This is supposed to be a fine dining experience," she said sharply. "Not a charity case." The manager nodded, clearly uncomfortable. "I understand, ma'am. I'll handle it." He approached the man's table slowly. "Sir," he began, his voice polite but firm. "I'm afraid this establishment may not be the best fit for..." Before he could finish, the little girl looked up. "Did we do something wrong?" she asked softly. The manager paused. The man gently squeezed his daughter's hand. "No, sweetheart. Not at all." He looked up at the manager, calm and composed. "If there's a problem, we can leave." There was no anger in his voice. No argument. Just quiet dignity. For a moment, no one spoke. Then something unexpected happened. The sound of a helicopter filled the air outside. At first, it was distant. Then louder. Closer. People turned their heads toward the large windows. A sleek, black helicopter slowly descended onto a nearby rooftop pad. The entire restaurant watched. The little girl's eyes lit up. "Dad. Look." The man glanced outside, then nodded. "That's my helicopter." The room froze. Someone laughed nervously. Others whispered. The elegant woman scoffed. "Oh, please." But the man didn't react. He simply sat there, calm as ever. Within minutes, the restaurant doors opened again. Two men in sharp suits stepped inside, scanning the room. Behind them walked another man, older, confident, with the kind of presence that commanded attention without a word. He walked straight to the table by the window. "Sir," one of the suited men said respectfully. "We've been looking for you." The manager's face went pale. The elegant woman's expression changed instantly. The older man smiled warmly at the single dad. "You disappeared again," he said, almost like an old friend. "The board meeting is waiting." The single dad sighed softly. "I told you, tonight is my daughter's night." The older man looked at the little girl and smiled. "And what a special night it is." Then he turned to the manager. "Is there a problem here?" The manager stammered. "And no, sir. Not at all." But the room already knew. The single dad wasn't just any man. He was the founder of one of the fastest growing aviation companies in the country. A billionaire who had built his success from nothing. And yet, he still wore the same boots. Still spoke with the same humility. The elegant woman slowly sat back down, her face pale. She couldn't believe it. The man she had judged was far more successful than anyone in the room. But the story didn't end there. The single dad looked around the restaurant. He saw the whispers, the stares, the sudden change in how people looked at him. Then he did something no one expected. He stood up. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm but clear. The room fell silent again. "I know what you're all thinking," he continued. "That somehow, I've proven I belong here." He shook his head gently. "But I didn't need a helicopter to belong here." He looked at his daughter. "She belonged here the moment she walked in." His words hung in the air. Then he turned toward the elegant woman. "I saw the way you looked at us," he said, not with anger, but honesty. "And I understand. We all make quick judgments sometimes." The woman looked down, ashamed. "But kindness," he continued, "isn't about who deserves it. It's about who needs it." The room was completely still. "I've been that man," he said softly. "The one who couldn't afford dinner. The one people overlooked." He smiled gently. "And I'll never forget how it felt." Then he reached into his pocket and placed something on the table. A card. "For every table here tonight," he said, "dinner is on me." Gasps filled the room. "But there's one condition," he added. People leaned in. "Before you leave, do one act of kindness for someone you don't know. No matter how small." He picked up his daughter's hand. "Because you never know who someone really is, or what they're going through." With that, he nodded politely and walked toward the door. The older man and his team followed. Outside, the helicopter waited. As it lifted into the night sky, the restaurant remained silent. But something had changed. The elegant woman sat quietly, her eyes distant. Then, slowly, she stood up. She walked over to the hostess, the same one who had hesitated earlier. "I'm sorry," she said softly. The hostess looked surprised. "For what?" "For forgetting what really matters." One by one, others began to move. A man helped an elderly couple with their coats. A young woman paid for a stranger's dessert. Small acts. Simple gestures. But each one mattered. Because kindness isn't about wealth, status, or appearance. It's about seeing people, truly seeing them. That night, a little girl got her special dinner. A father kept his promise. And an entire room of strangers learned a lesson they would never forget. So the next time you see someone who doesn't seem to belong, remember this story. Because kindness has the power to change everything. And sometimes, all it takes is one moment, one choice, to make a difference. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe to, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still exists in this world. Because it does.